A Christian-run field hospital set up in New York City by Franklin Graham's Samaritans Purse is now being asked to leave the city after treating dozens of patients suffering from COVID-19. Why? Well, because according to liberals, it doesn't much matter how much selfless charity you're providing. If you don't grovel before the progressive social agenda, you're a bigot and you aren't welcome in their city. Well, I mean, just as soon as you're done saving their lives, of course. The Samaritans Purse Field Hospital in New York City's Central Park, which was providing medical care to sick people to help local hospitals deal with the coronavirus pandemic, is now getting closed after a city councilman claimed their services are no longer needed to respond to the outbreak, saying that the bigots should now pack up and leave now that the crisis has passed. That field hospital, which included 68 beds and over 70 volunteer medical personnel, had treated nearly 200 patients suffering from the coronavirus. Even still, Speaker Corey Johnson, a Democrat, said on Friday that this group, which is led by the notoriously bigoted, hate-spewing Franklin Graham, came at a time when our city couldn't in good conscience turn away any offer of help. That time has passed. Their continued presence here is an affront to our values of inclusion and is painful for all New Yorkers who care deeply about the LGBTQ community. Apparently, Johnson's problem is with the fact that Franklin Graham and his charitable organization subscribe to the biblical definition of marriage as between one man and one woman. Even still, during the month plus that the field hospital was set up in Central Park, there was not a single complaint of anyone being mistreated or denied services because of their sexual orientation, gender identity, or any other liberal checkbox. Their volunteers just provided medical care to the sick. But apparently that kind of selfless charity is only appreciated when the city depends on it. Now that the crisis is past, liberal city officials are back to hating them because they won't abandon their faith to appease social justice warriors. Never mind that Christian groups offer millions of dollars in charitable medical services to the sick every single year, that they provide the vast majority of disaster aid, and that they are often the first to respond to a crisis not only in our country but across the world. While Bill de Blasio was still going to the gym and ignoring his own shelter-in-place rules, the Samaritans Purse was airlifting a field hospital to Milan to set up a respiratory center for COVID-19 patients. This isn't a new phenomenon, by the way. In fact, while the government's busy bungling everything it touches, faith-based charity groups provide about 80% of all relief aid in the aftermath of natural disasters. Most are Christian, including the United Methodist Committee on Relief, the Baptist Global Response, and the Samaritans Purse. They help with everything from short-term food distribution to shelter setup to helping entire families rebuild their homes. The Baptist Global Response, which is run by Southern Baptists who also subscribe to the traditional definition of marriage, by the way, has about 95,000 trained volunteers ready to assist with disaster relief, making it the largest nonprofit aid group behind the Red Cross and the Salvation Army. In fact, the BGR provides 90% of all hot food donations distributed by the Red Cross and the Salvation Army during disaster relief. Christian charities provide billions of dollars worth of aid for the states, many of which rely on these groups, not the federal government, as their first responders in a time of crisis. The volunteers, who come at no cost to state governments, count towards states' matching of FEMA funds, which they are required by law to do. More than 1 in 10 hospitals in the United States are Christian hospitals. In fact, Christian hospitals outnumber federal ones by about 3.5 to 1. Now, it's not a surprise that a liberal official in New York City wants to hate on charitable Christians helping the sick the minute their services are no longer desperately needed. Kind of like how it doesn't matter how many free meals and scholarships Chick-fil-A hands out, they're still getting kicked off of college campuses and out of airports. Heck, Jesus healed the blind and raised the dead, and they still nailed him to a cross. So now that the crisis is past and you no longer need the respirators, I guess it's okay to kick the filthy, life-saving bigots out of the park. After all, I'm sure all the people who were treated in that field hospital were really upset that the people helping them were a Christian organization that didn't agree with gay marriage, because that's what matters in a crisis. I do wonder if Mr. Johnson would hold his own medical care to that standard if it mattered to him that the person saving his life after a car accident or a heart attack disagrees with him on who can use what bathroom. But thankfully, and unsurprisingly, the Samaritans Purse did not care whether the people that they were helping in New York City held their personal views on gay marriage. In a time of grave crisis, they were the ones who responded, and they treated everyone exactly the same, which frankly makes them a lot less bigoted than liberals like Mr. Johnson. And that's your Reality Check America. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page, that you like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there.